The butterfly effect is the idea that small and somewhat trivial events may ultimately result in major consequences. When it comes to pro wrestling, specifically WWE, there are numerous moments that have altered the trajectory of the company forever, and if they never happened, then it's hard to know and accurately assess the future direction of WWE. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 of the craziest WWE butterfly effect moments. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 10. CM Punk doesn't walk out of WWE. In 2014, CM Punk shocked the wrestling world by walking out of WWE. He was frustrated with the system and he needed to escape the WWE bubble as it was doing him no favors whatsoever. Punk's departure sent shockwaves throughout WWE, and before Punk left, he was set to be in one of the top matches at WrestleMania 30 against Triple H. Punk leaving meant that WWE had to drastically move around the card, and Punk leaving ultimately resulted in Daniel Bryan getting his much-deserved moment in the main event. Triple H would now face Bryan, with the winner being added to the Batista vs Randy Orton WWE title main event, and finally Bryan's planned match versus Sheamus would be cancelled completely. If Punk doesn't leave WWE in 2014 and decides to stick it out, does Bryan ever get his moment? Does Punk eventually leave the company even more disgruntled? Does Punk run himself into the ground to such an extent where he causes irreversible damage? It's a crazy alternative timeline. Number 9. The planned finish at WrestleMania 30 goes ahead. The Divas title was defended for the first time at WrestleMania 30 when AJ Lee defended the title in a multi-women match. The original scripted finish was supposed to see AJ make Naomi tap out by cheating. It was reported that AJ would grab Naomi's hand and make Naomi tap out in that manner. This would have then allowed the feud to continue and for WWE to build to a huge AJ vs Naomi pay-per-view match. The issue was that Naomi ended up actually tapping with her free hand, meaning that it looked like a legitimate win. Naomi had no legitimate reason to seek a rematch, and as a result, this would have had a knock-on effect that would alter the women's division forever. Paige would then be called up to the main roster and would be booked to instantly defeat AJ on Raw after WrestleMania. Additionally, now that Paige was on the main roster, a planned Paige vs Charlotte Flair feud in NXT was cancelled, and instead Flair would take on Natalya. This all-time classic NXT match resulted in Flair gaining a mass surge of momentum, and this was a match that propelled her into the contention for being one of the strongest female stars in the company. Therefore, if the botch didn't go down at WrestleMania 30, Paige isn't called up, Flair doesn't receive her breakout moment, and ultimately, this could have hindered the presentation of the women's division for many years to come. Number 8. Mark Henry breaks the streak. There have been countless times over the years where WWE have made plans to end the streak. Even though the legendary streak was eventually conquered by Brock Lesnar in 2014, WWE put the wheels in motion for numerous wrestlers to get a huge boost by defeating The Undertaker, and in 2006, it looked like it was going to be Mark Henry. According to WWE executive Bruce Pritchard on his podcast, WWE were going to proceed with Henry breaking the streak. However, as WWE got closer to WrestleMania 22, Vince McMahon got cold feet. Now, if Vince followed through on this move, then it would have changed everything. Henry would have emerged as WWE's top heel at the time, where he probably wasn't ready for the role. The Undertaker's matches against the likes of Shawn Michaels, CM Punk, and eventually Brock Lesnar wouldn't have had the streak element attached, and there's no telling if these matches would have even taken place if the streak was no longer a marketing tool. Number 7. Finn Balor doesn't get injured. WWE had grand plans for the launch of the Universal title in 2016. They would make Finn Balor the inaugural champion, and the idea was that Balor would be the face of Raw. The plan was for Balor to enter into a feud with Kevin Owens, and then the belief was that Balor would be thrown into the middle of a red-hot Owens and Chris Jericho storyline. Obviously, Balor got hurt and he was subsequently forced to surrender the title after a lousy 24 hours. But what would have happened if Balor didn't get injured? How would he have been presented? If Balor doesn't get hurt, Owens never becomes Universal Champion a few weeks later, and this also means that Goldberg likely doesn't win the title in early 2017. It would only be logical that Balor walks into WrestleMania 30 as Universal Champion against a top heel on Raw, and this leads to Goldberg and Brock Lesnar finishing their story without the Universal title attached to it. Number 6. Kevin Owens doesn't drop the Universal title. Following Finn Balor's unfortunate injury, the story between Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens dominated Raw. The storyline received critical acclaim as fans loved it, and the two had electric chemistry. Ultimately, the planned payoff to the storyline was Jericho challenging Owens for the Universal title, and this is something fans were actively pushing for. Unfortunately, overnight this changed. The plans went from Jericho versus Owens for the Universal title in the main event of WrestleMania 33 to the two now competing for the US title. Speaking on Busted Open Radio, this is what Jericho had to say regarding the bold booking move from WWE and why it influenced him to leave the company. If WWE gave Jericho the match everyone wanted, then there's no doubt about it, Jericho doesn't leave WWE. Additionally, we all know that this booking move influenced Jericho to sign for AEW, and with AEW unable to attract the multi-time former WWE World Champion, is the startup of AEW such a monumental success? It's a very interesting theory to think about. Number 5. John Cena doesn't rap for Stephanie McMahon. Imagine a world in which John Cena is released in 2002. Well, it actually almost happened. After a strong start to his WWE career, Cena was lingering around with nothing to do. Cena was on the chopping block, and according to Cena, it seemed inevitable that he was going to be cut. However, this would all change when Stephanie McMahon overheard Cena freestyling, and when McMahon asked Cena if he would be interested in bringing the character to TV, the rest was history. Cena would get so immensely over with the character that just a few days later, they would make the call to make Cena the face of the entire company. What would have happened if McMahon never heard Cena rap? Well, the release would have gone ahead and WWE would never find their next top guy. Who would have taken on Cena's role as the next face of the company, and who would have carried the WWE throughout the PG era? That one rap was monumental in Cena's entire WWE career. Number 4. Mustafa Ali never gets hurt. An unfortunate injury to Mustafa Ali in 2019 changed the career of Kofi Kingston forever. Kingston would replace Ali in the annual Elimination Chamber match, and Kingston's performance ignited such a positive fan response towards him that WWE had no choice but to deliver a Kingston storyline which would see him challenge for the WWE title at WrestleMania 35. It's believed that the original plans for WrestleMania 35 were Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens for the WWE title, and it's never been made clear what exactly WWE had in store when it came to Kingston. If Ali never got hurt, then Kingston is never pushed into the main event scene, and this also means that the infamous Brock Lesnar squash match never goes down. It's truly unbelievable to think how an injury to a wrestler can alter the trajectory of WWE history. Number 3. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash re-sign in 1996. In 1996, two of WWE's top stars, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, decided to leave the company. The two were happy to stay in WWE, yet WCW were offering a lucrative contract with guaranteed money for less dates, so it was no-brainer as far as they were concerned. The two leaving and signing for WCW would lead to the formation of the NWO alongside Hulk Hogan, and this would result in WCW becoming the hottest pro wrestling company in North America. What would have happened if Hall and Nash didn't jump ship? The NWO would have never existed, and WCW would have never had their major boom. Also, if WCW remained in the same established position, then WWE would have been less inclined to introduce an edgier product and usher in the Attitude Era. Additionally, if Hall and Nash re-signed with WWE in 96, then the infamous curtain call never goes down. If the curtain call doesn't happen, Triple H wins the annual King of the Ring, and Stone Cold Steve Austin never delivers the iconic Austin 3:16 promo. This is an alternative timeline that would have had many twists and turns, and it would ultimately alter the WWE we know today. Number 2. Bret Hart doesn't jump ship to WCW. What would have happened if Bret Hart didn't jump ship to WCW in 97? Well, the almost obvious thing is that the Montreal Screwjob would have been avoided. The Montreal Screwjob is one of the most famous real-life events in pro wrestling history, and with this kayfabe-shattering event never taking place, where does this lead the world of kayfabe heading into the Attitude Era? Hart failing to jump ship to WCW in 97 also results in Hart being a key figure into WWE in the 2000s. Naturally, this would mean that Hart never wrestles Goldberg at 99's Starrcade event, and ultimately would have never had to retire. Hart would have then been able to have dream matches against the likes of Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle under the WWE banner. Hart himself would discuss how his career would have panned out, and during this incredible interview with Fightful, Hart predicts that he would have taken Pat Patterson's job in WWE. I was going to work in some facet of The Office. I was actually under, if my memory serves me right, I think I was going to take Pat Patterson's job and work with the matches. Another notable butterfly effect in Hart leaving for WCW in 97 was the creation of the Mr. McMahon character. The evil Mr. McMahon character would have become a central antagonist on WWE TV following Survivor Series, so if Hart stays in the company in 97, does the Mr. McMahon character become a pivotal player on screen? If this never happens, this means that the McMahon vs Stone Cold rivalry that was arguably one of the reasons for WWE's boom period never even occurs. And number 1, the Day 1 pay-per-view. WWE's first and only Day 1 pay-per-view was about to be headlined by Roman Reigns vs Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. According to reports at the time, the creative plans were for Lesnar to win the matchup and put a definitive end to Reigns' run as champion. Over the Raw brand, the multi-man WWE title match was set to feature Seth Rollins coming out on top and becoming the new WWE champion. When it was announced that Reigns had tested positive for COVID-19, this forced WWE to change the plans. Lesnar would be added to the title match and would end up winning the respective title, and WWE moved forward with a title versus title match between Lesnar and Reigns for the top billed match at WrestleMania 38. If Reigns didn't get COVID in 2022, then what exactly does the main event scene in WWE look like heading into WrestleMania 38? There's no way WWE will book a Reigns vs Lesnar match again for WrestleMania, so where does this leave two of WWE's biggest stars? Also, if Rollins walks into WrestleMania 38 as WWE Champion, does he still face a returning Cody Rhodes, or does Rhodes take on a different opponent? Another key butterfly effect moment here is Biggie. Biggie was WWE Champion coming into the show, and if Rollins wins the title, do WWE commit to booking a feud between Biggie and Rollins for the title heading into WrestleMania 38? If this is the case, then this means that Biggie doesn't go back to SmackDown and likely wouldn't have found himself in the infamous match which resulted in him breaking his neck. Crazy to think about, right? What do you guys think of these alternative realities? Let us know in the comments down below. I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.